everyone who's logging in. Again, thank you for logging in, and we appreciate the continuing conversations. Last week was all about a plan of action, a lot of legislative updates. Now we're shifting. It's more about a community conversation. What's been amazing over the past week and a half is really how everyone's pulled together and contributed solutions. And like we've been focusing on, there's not one person, two people, or four people that are going to have the solution, but industry-wide together, I think these conversations are going to help put the pieces together. And today, we have Red Boswell from IFPG and Angela Cote, who's works with emerging brands across the country. Red is the president of IFPG, which is one of the largest franchise broker organizations. So thank you guys for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Awesome to be here.
So I'm going to kick this off because it's all about, look, everything's still evolving. There's things we don't know. I know today, hopefully Congress is going to pass some legislation that'll provide funding to small business. I know we, as sort of an industry, may have some webinar fatigue, right? And so as we chart our course, this is really about a conversation, and you guys on here are really all leaders, and everyone on the call, you know, amazing leaders. So Angela, just give us, like, what's your assessment? And I think one of your strengths has always been your very clear focus on executing business plans, growth plans, and you have an amazingly positive attitude. So share with us your thoughts, what you're seeing with franchisors, and, you know, lead the way here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've had a lot of great opportunities to chat with franchisors one-on-one and in some roundtables that I've been hosting and hearing their challenges and things that they're going through. And I've been amazed at how positive people really are being in this, you know, this challenging time. Probably the biggest fear obviously is taking care of franchisees, and I'm seeing a lot of great strategies and creativity coming out of this. And I'm certainly optimistic. I'm not admitting that I'm not a little bit nervous at times, and you know, there's a lot of unknown. So, you know, but staying focused on coming out on the other end, there's just so much opportunity here, and I believe that the people that have the right mindset, that this is an opportunity to grow and be stronger, and we're stress testing our businesses and making them stronger. The people that think like that are going to come out ahead. I think that the people, I believe there's actually two mindsets. There's the mindset of growing, and then there's the mindset of like fear and stopping right now. Just stop. Like, I've heard people talk about sort of stopping and waiting, not as much as I think more people are talking about growing, but the people that are going to sort of stop and sort of see what happens, they're not going to come out. I mean, the others are going to come out ahead. And so that's really where I'm focusing on for my own self and my business and all the people that I'm working with. I'm sure I've got lots more to say, but I'll pause there and let others chime in as well.
Yeah, I mean, and just as a brief intro, I mean, Red, you're guiding so many brokers and franchisors and your own internal team, you and Don. What's your approach right now, at least for IFPG, and then your advice to your brokers and your franchisors you're working with?
Well, Charles, thanks, and Nick, thank you for having us on here. IFPG, we acknowledge the crisis we're going through, the struggles our families, our loved ones, our franchisees are going through. We've chosen to take the attitude of leading from behind. We're going to, a kind of a slogan we've been using internally is no Zor left behind. We've got close to 500 franchisor partners. We've got our members. We've got another 600 franchise consultant members, and we even have about 100 franchise supplier members. So we're checking with them. The franchise support team is at IFPG is checking with them and seeing what we can do. An example would be I'm having interviews, or calling it COVID-19 franchise leaders respond. I'm speaking with half a dozen every day with a quick little 10 to 20 minute interview on what are they doing, how are they helping their Z's, what's their outlook for the future. And I guess lastly, I'm honestly surprised the optimism. I mean, I've never been accused of being a pessimist, but I think it's part of the DNA of being in franchising is the optimism. We have to temper it with the general public because they think we're weird, and in some cases we get mocked for that optimism, but there is a lot of hope and a lot of positivity out there amongst the franchise community. I mean, I've never been prouder to be in franchising, frankly, just to be real. I am so impressed by the go-get-itiveness and the lack of selfishness. It's just about how can we help? What can we do? We've even begun using the tagline, hashtag franchising stronger together. Franchising stronger together. We think that just encompasses what we're seeing, what we're feeling in this beautiful industry of ours.
Yeah, Red, I have to say, everyone's been amazing. Going with Angela's lead here, right? Angela talked about mindset, growing versus fear, stopping, right? So that mindset, I'll ask both of you, if you guys, Angela first, if you could give me an example of, we now know what the mindset is, but what actions are you seeing by franchisors that have the right mindset of growing versus the ones that don't? And Red, I throw that not only for franchisors, but also brokers. Angela, what are some of those like concrete things you're seeing?
So probably, really the biggest thing is this proactiveness with franchisees. I'm sure, this isn't too big of a surprise to hear this, but specifically, one of the big things I think is the really frequent communication, but not just one-sided. I really am excited when I see and actually I just posted something today on LinkedIn, my Rob and Ange rants little series that I'm doing. And we actually recorded this about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but we bumped it because of COVID-19. But we talked about collaboration and bringing franchisees together on a video call like this and the value of that. And I think the franchisors right now that are doing that regularly and not trying to kind of hide from the franchisees and just push out communication, I think that is one of the most proactive things you can do. Let the franchisees speak, like let them feel heard. I was a franchisee for 18 years, and that's one of the most important things as a franchisee for success is to feel heard when you need to feel heard. So I think that's probably one of the biggest, most effective concrete actions I'm seeing right now. It's just involving everybody. Really anybody that's getting on top of being able to pivot the business, but also stay focused on what you're good at. I think I've seen some franchisors trying to figure out, should we pivot to this other thing? And, is it still within what we know we're good at? And if it is, then it's something that can be considered. So Red, I'll let you chime in here
Sure.
as well.
A decade ago and beyond, I was a franchisor, and I experienced, during the global economic crisis, nightmare time. A lot of similarities to now, but some significant differences. Back then, we had the market went down, so that's similar. We had fear, paralyzing fear. We had uncertainty big time. We had freeze in a lot of folks spending. But what we didn't have was the housing market had crashed and wasn't returning anytime soon. We didn't have the banks freezing lending and the SBA disappearing practically. So, and we didn't have a clear path to recovery. And if the little bit of path we did have was years, not weeks or months. So I'm encouraged, and I hear a lot of people talking about that. They know they can see a light at the end of this tunnel, however long that tunnel might be. So that's been encouraging. Could you imagine being a mom and pop right now? It just blows my mind what they must be going through, being on that island by themselves without the support structure of the franchisors. And to your point, or to your question, would be, Charles, what are Zors doing? They're communicating. They are communicating and they ain't stopping. They're having town halls constantly. They tell you something that may surprise you. I'm talking a whole bunch of Zors, and they're supporting from a position of strength and leadership. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just sharing what I'm hearing is a lot of Zors are not giving royalty deferment or royalty forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a place for that. Absolutely. But they are showing empathy. They're showing caring. Michael Haith of Cherokee Managed yesterday, I was interviewing him, and he said, Red, the franchisees need me more than ever. They need the support team of our franchisor organization more than they've ever needed us before. And guess what? I go defer royalties. I can't. I got to support them to the umpteenth level. They love me for it. Validations are going through the roof. They feel like a true family because I am doing what Azure is there to do. Care for, protect, and support their Zs. And in their case, they've chosen, in many franchisors' case, not to do any of the deferment because they're trying to support their Zs big time now more than ever.
I had a client yesterday I just had a big conversation with about this. She's been getting all these requests for either discounted product or royalty deferment, and she said the exact same thing, Red. It's like if we discount the product and reduce royalties, then we're not going to have the resources to support you right now. That's basically what you're saying. So this is actually part of where it came up. I mean, I had the idea of like stop or grow, but she actually calls it, you're either the couch person, like you're the Doritos and Netflix, or you're going to grow. And so if you're a Doritos and Netflix or a couch person, you are probably not going to be, you're the one asking for these reductions, and you're probably not going to be selling anyway. So it's not going to help anybody. You know,
I heard Azor yesterday share something that I felt the traditional sales, we don't want to ever come across as salespeople, but the feel, felt, found approach, he was genuine. I don't even know if he knew he did it, but he basically was sharing with his Z's, guys, I know how you feel. I felt the same way, and here's what I found. He didn't use it in exactly that flow. He shared, he empathized and mirrored their fears. He shared his own personal fears and anxieties and frustrations and uncertainties. And then he said, here's what I've gone through before. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I found. And it was just so, so comforting, me, an outsider, just listening in to his heart. And I could tell it was very reassuring to the franchisees on that call.
You know, I think there's some businesses, right? And on our call yesterday, our conversation yesterday, naturally there's some that are succeeding. And I was blown away yesterday. We had a conversation with the founder of Wing Zone, and now their business is, and not only 24/7 support, but also pumping their own money into local marketing for franchisees, right? On the flip side, though, as positive as I want to be, the practical elements, I'm in right outside of New York City. And so we have franchisees that are, never mind abatement, they're just closed, right? So that becomes another threshold issue, which is they're closed, and the franchisors are talking to landlords and providing that support. And so, I ultimately, I don't know, like you guys are saying, it depends on when we come out of this, but there's going to be some that, if they could hold the line and keep supporting and growing. And then there's going to be those that are closing, and we're going to, as a community, have to figure out solutions, get them back open, get those franchisors going. I mean, I'll ask, it seems to me no matter what, there will be a shakeout. There will be, in the franchise world, for a generation of young people, like my younger son included, who's right, there's going to be a pre-COVID-19 and a post-COVID-19. And in the middle is going to be a shakeout, and there's going to be, and I 100% see the opportunity, but I think franchising is going to look different post COVID-19. And I think it could be in a positive way. What do you guys think about that?
I think that it's going to be really interesting to see, because franchising is so much about the local owner in the community, right? Like people, when I work with people who are trying to figure out if they should franchise their business. And one of the things I ask them is, does it matter if you have a local owner in the local community? And if it does, which, most small businesses, it does help, then I say, well, okay, let's keep talking. Let's go through all the criteria then, for franchising a business and see if it makes sense. And with the way that this is going, people are turning to virtual. And so does that remove the need for a local owner is my question. And how are we going to transition people back to the in-person if they get really used to this virtual and don't feel the need, so for example, I have a client who has it's B Balance natural hormone, oh my gosh, she's going to be really happy with me right now. Hormone weight loss centers, and they do natural hormone balancing through, these consultations and supplements and things. And technically you don't really need to be in person. So they've been able to transition to doing this virtually. So all along they've been saying, come see us in person, come see us in person. And now it's like, oh, it's okay. You don't actually have to see us in person. We can just meet online. What do we do after with these brick and mortar centers? Can we get people back into the centers? And what are now there's this question, and I'm seeing this in a bunch of businesses as well, of, was that my client, but that always happened in franchising, where we would do marketing and advertising. And, when I had 3 stores and I sold one of them, the one was only 10 minutes away. Well, we don't know if our flyer that we sent out, where the customer came from, and we just have to accept that it's a franchise. We're all working together. But I think what's going to really be interesting is the ones that have shifted to be able to do things online and virtual. Does that remove the need for the local owner? And then I love
that example, Angela. I think I think Be Balanced, that's a great example of a brand, an emerging brand innovating. And I think actually that could be a win on both ends, as we exit a stronger online community that also benefits franchisees. And we're seeing this with a lot of our clients, and the brick and mortar. And I think Nick is, during our discussions yesterday, was there's going to be a dynamic shift in retail after all of this is over, footprints and availability, Yeah.
Hey guys, I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, were you trying to speak before?
Well, there was a blip in my speakers. I don't know. I've been doing this so much, maybe my computer's getting worn out from all the webinars we're doing. I think to the point of terminology, what are Zors doing? What are FranDev folks doing? What are brokers doing? We're hearing a lot about terminology matters. It's always mattered. Every word we say to these candidates and helping them matters. Right now, we're talking about empathy and mirroring, finding out where they're at so we can address it still with empathy, but with a side of optimism, strength, and confidence, because our role, whether we're the Zor, the FranDev person, or the broker consultant, we're there to help educate them in a big way, help get them clarity on what is this new world you're considering, give them guidance step by step, and paint that picture of what life could look like if they become a franchisee. None of that's changed. We're using some terms such as don't stop, pause, or now's the best time to research and validate. You have more time. And franchisees in many cases are more available than ever. The Zor will give you all the time they need. And frankly, let's watch that Zor. What are they doing to address this crisis? Are they becoming that couch potato and hiding in their shell? Or are they leading from behind, supporting their Z's like never before? It's a good time to prove out a model from that aspect. And then lastly, we're seeing lending like never before. What Congress is doing, what SBA is doing, the rate lowering, the availability of capital is unprecedented. We're even seeing folks say, well, I really wanted to use my 401k. What's going on? The market's plummeted. So although we're already seeing a rebound, but what are we doing with that? Well, we're hearing franchisors use terms like defining what a rebound means, getting clarity from the candidate on, okay, understand, you want to use your 401k to fund your franchise. Now there are other options that might be more attractive at this point, but if you want to continue on that path, great. Let's still get everything prepared, because that is a month or 2 process to get the 401k system set up and the C Corp and all that. And then defining, don't just say, okay, we're waiting for a rebound. What does a rebound mean to you, Mr. and Mrs. Candidate? Let's get that and then write it down and email it to them to remind them, because we all know when we say we're waiting for the market to come back. What does the market come back? Does it ever really come back? We're always going to be chasing that mountaintop. So helping get clarity on that, putting it in writing and sending that to them for accountability for the future if they choose to follow the 401k funding process.
And I'm going to throw it to Nick, but you know, again, I have to catch myself, and I'm going to be, you know, candid, right? So I'm sitting in my office by myself. Melissa, who's monitoring this, is working from home. My whole team's been working from home. I'm keeping routines. We're speaking to clients nonstop overseas here. I'd love to say, hey, I have the whole world in order. I'm so in control. At moments I feel like I am, and others I'm like, you know, my big driving force right now is I keep saying to my team is I'm trying to build a landing pad for us to land, right? To land and then to continue. But, you know, there's sometimes I like get a little down, you know what I mean? Like you guys have some of those moments and thoughts and like, you know, I'm like paranoid. We've got to build a landing pad, got to keep, you know, talking with our clients and everything else. And so keeping myself busy is great. And we're doing all the things we should, sticking to our traction meetings, sticking to our 10-minute meetings. Now I have a 4 o'clock meeting, but sometimes I'm like, oh, this is not good. And I don't want to be negative. What do you guys think about that?
I think I have a really a practical, easy solution that, you know, a lot of thought leaders and influencers talk about all the time. I think sticking to, you know, having some routines in the earlier part of the day to set you up for the day. One of mine is my gratitude practice. It's a simple, you know, I am grateful for, I actually have an app on my phone. And so it's 2 things I'm grateful for, 1 person I'm grateful for, and why. Like I am grateful to, you know, Charles and Nick and their team for inviting me on this webinar is probably going to be what's on my gratitude journal tomorrow morning. And so then it also says, today would be great if, and it forces you to think about, okay, here's my day ahead and what do I need to do today that's going to make it great? And it's not like, if money lands in my lap, of course that would be great, but, or if COVID disappeared and I woke up and this was just all a bad dream. I mean, but that's not realistic. So today would be great if I used my gifts and talents to help others, you know, get through their challenges today with, or at least 1 person I inspire, you know, today would be great if. And then the last point is I am, and then fill in that blank. And it might be something like, again, I am using my superpowers to get through these challenging times. I am maintaining positivity by doing this, or I am strong and I'm confident, or whatever it is. So I find that gratitude journal really important. Some prayer and meditation within that mix is always really helpful. Just, I feel like it's so critical. It's so important for an entrepreneur to have the right, you know, to have these mindset tricks to get them in the right state of mind for the day and set up now more than ever. You know, to be an entrepreneur, Gary Vee always talks about having a stomach for it. And it's so true. Like if you don't know that feeling, then I don't think you're in it. You're an entrepreneur. You know, you have to know what I'm talking about. Like that stomach to go, holy, like now what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? So if you've got that and you are an entrepreneur, you've got to have some mindset rituals. I think gratitude is one of the number 1 things. I put on YouTube videos a lot in the morning while I'm getting ready, doing my hair. I'm sure, Charles, you can relate to that. That's when you're doing your hair. Yeah. And, you know, I'll be doing my hair or whatever. And I've got to, you know, I'll be listening to somebody that inspires me, whether it's, you know, Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or, you know, Lisa Nichols or whoever, just to get me out of my head, you know, and I find these little tricks really help me set up, and I'm like, okay, here we go, day, let's do this. And now more than ever, it's so important. And to think of ourselves as leaders and people that have the ability to influence others to stay positive, that part gets me really excited as well. Like, let's step up, let's be leaders, let's show people how this is done.
Angela,
so,
I could
Charles,
say
you're a leader.
You live all the things you just said, which I think is awesome.
I didn't think I was making it up.
No, I'm just saying, it's one thing when someone says it, and then another when you see it, right, in action. Brad, what's your thoughts? I mean, right? There is uncertainty. What's the focus that you guys and your team have been, to stay focused and positive, really?
Sure. Charles, I feel like, so this coming Monday is my 1-year anniversary as president of IFPG, and I feel like I was put into this role for such a time as this. I love being an encourager and supporting and helping and just being a servant to our members, and they need it more than ever right now.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged by them, oddly enough. So many Zors I reach out to and they tell me, oh yeah, we just awarded another franchise this morning. And I'm like, excuse me? You mean last month? No, this morning. Really? I love you. It was just, I hear that over and over, and it's the reality of things. I'm trying to approach things in a somber and respectful manner, and yet then the Zors continue to encourage me. And that's not in every case, but it is in a lot of cases. One of the things I do, to Angela's point, is I actually define the worst case scenario. I was a Zor for many years, and we awarded 3 franchises a month on average for 3.5 years. And I was the founder of the franchise organization, 100% owner. And then in 2008, for 2.5 years, we awarded 1, and we gave a massive deferment of fees on that one. So I went from the mountaintop, building my dream house, being offered millions for my business, to going through bankruptcy and just about losing my ever-loving mind. I'm still looking for part of it. And so I look at that and go, it will never, ever be that bad. It just will not. And so I look at what is the worst case scenario for today, and anything that happens that's better than that worst case scenario is a blessing. And then from a personal IFPG standpoint, we are being extremely respectful to the prospects that are in our pipeline to join IFPG. We're checking in on them. We're seeing how they're doing, and we let them contact us if they're interested in moving forward. And yet we are having every day for the last, the last 10 business days, no, 1, 2, 3, the last 7 business days, we've had a Zor contact us and join. Now, we haven't pursued them. They pursued us to join. That to me is such an encouragement to see that, wow, there are some thriving and some still have hope, Lastly, I'm encouraged by franchisors that are indeed thriving through this. It's not most, it's a small percentage, but the fact of the cleaning franchisors, and there are a bunch, thriving significantly, or the packaging and mailing franchise, or the delivery related, or the home and business services that don't deal with individuals much. We're seeing huge upticks there. And I guess I'll throw in one more from what keeps me with a half a smile on my face is we have a sister company, Career Transition Leads, that supports the broker community with leads. And they've seen a not a giant, but a reasonable uptick in the interest, when the job market goes down. In fact, that's the biggest problem most of us have had for the last half decade, is this insanely good job market. I mean, we've had good lending, we've had good economy, we've had good. But the biggest cause for most franchisors losing deals, not validation, not spouse, not funding, not territory not available, it's lost the deal to their dream job. Well, I think we'd all agree we're seeing that turn significantly. And so that is certainly some good news for a lot of franchisors out there, in an odd way, that when the job market turns, the franchise industry thrives as a general rule.
Right. I think those are all awesome things, but I really appreciate you sharing your personal experience. I mean, that motivated me. I mean, that felt great to hear, and then to see everything you've done afterwards. I think that's awesome. I appreciate that. And Angela, I try to focus in the morning. I think I have ADD, but I'm going to, Nick, we've been
just
talking,
a quick 5 minutes, Charles.
No, I know. Nick, we've been having a number of conversations. I know you've been reflecting. I know your organization, your internal team. Let's talk about mindset here, and what your thoughts are.
I think the truth is, it's the theory of a third. I think a third of franchisors are really, really hurting. A third are preparing to get through the next level. A third are thriving. So I think that's the case in most scenarios. Same with franchisees. I talked with a franchise broker the other day, and I said, no BS, how you doing? He goes, I don't know when my next check's coming in. I am concerned about that. He's like, I see that the pond is filling up with prospects, so I know that there's a light here, but I got bills to pay. So there's stress there. And I think there's this thing called a mindset punch that I was talking to a franchisor yesterday, and I said, do you know anybody that has the coronavirus? He goes, yeah. I go, well, what was the point that this got real for you? He goes, that was the point. He goes, I have someone that I know who is sick. I don't think it's going to affect them long term, but that scared me. I have children. And so the mindset is great until you get punched. And then there are some people that can take those punches and turn it into fuel. For some, it's going to be tough. And that's where like there's got to be a sensitivity around everyone's personal experience. I mean, there's going to be a lot more cases that come out before we have a cure or solution. So the mindset punches are going to create a lot of pause moments, not for franchising. At the end of the day, franchising is not what's important right now. Right now, we're in the health stage of this, that getting through this as healthy as humanly possible is step one. And then if you can get through this and you're healthy and you don't have any impact to your family or your friends, and you can have the mindset to own the opportunity, that's where you take off on the other side of this. Now, it's interesting when Angela was talking about digital or virtual units. I think Matt Friedman said something that was interesting yesterday, and he had never said this to me in the past. I've had a great relationship with Matt for a long time, but it connected with me. I don't know what the data point was, like 50X% of customers when he did a research study to say, how did you first get to Wing Zone? And 57% or whatever said that they found out about Wing Zone because of the sign. So it's interesting to hear that, because then the value of the billboard ends up having a percentage of business, and he has the benefit of he can operate his business out of a 450 square foot kitchen. So I don't know that brick and mortar changes completely, like that it's gone. But I think brick and mortar is going to condense and understand that there's a percentage of our customer, no matter what it is, food or service or retail, that has an experience outside of our four walls. So I would imagine there's going to be a condensing, and at the same time, landlords are just getting crushed. So they're going to have to find a way to be flexible. We were talking to CBRE on our space, because we have a space that is meant to occupy growth as an agency. It is a very expensive lease. It's in a prime real estate building. We're going to exercise our clauses right now. One of the clauses is we can give them a 20-day notice that they have the ability to take over our unit. They're not going to, because they're getting crushed as a landlord. But now it puts us in the driver's seat. So the point there is, if you are looking at every aspect of cash flow so that you're in the top 2/3 of franchisors or franchisees, you have to look through every place that you're spending money and figure out a way to preserve as much of it to be able to own the opportunity on the onset of this. So one, there's mindset. I still have there's tremendous opportunity outside of this. I think for a lot of our franchisors, they're going to have tremendous opportunity. My mindset may shift depending what happens to me from a personal standpoint. If I get one of these mindset punches, I don't know that how I'm going to be able to recover from it. It's too unknown. Nobody understands the length of or the impact of this, or how long it's going to take, or how long prospects are going to be on the sideline of it. But if you can start with the mindset of let's start with gratitude, you can move into let's try to identify the opportunities, and you can sustain that through whatever impact this ends up having to you or you and your family. Then on the other side of this, given that we're in franchising, which should have growth when people's jobs are at risk, then there could be a growth on here. The biggest challenge spot that exists right now, in my opinion, is that is unknown. We can look at Italy hitting a peak and going down for 2 days. Yesterday, the case count went back up. So that's the one that we're kind of trying to watch on how quickly do we get to the other side of this, so that we can start understanding where does opportunity take off in the United States. Yesterday, I would have said, based on the data, it looks like the United States should hit that point at around April 1st or April 2nd. That means we start going down, which means now we can look for the opportunity. But judging on what happened in Italy, that it went back up yesterday, I don't know that that's the case. I'm not a medical expert. And again, not one human being in this entire world has gone through a crisis like this. So I appreciate all the feedback the two of you gave. Mine is that mindset is amazing. I have the right mindset, but I'm also I'm a realist that says most likely I'm going to know someone deeply impacted by that, and I don't know what that's going to do to my psyche. And I would imagine franchisees and franchisors are going to go through a similar thing, whether a franchisor has a franchisee that gets it and gets sick. But you know, it's really unknown territory right now, and that's where, you know, we've been constantly saying nobody is an expert. This is a guessing game for franchising, for business. For humans, period.
Can I just jump in on on the mindset piece there? And awesome ideas and insights there, Nick. That was good to hear all the different insights for sure. I want to just be clear that with mindset, that's the thing. When we have to know, like we might get a mindset punch where we feel it, we know it. You know, whether that's, like you said, somebody deeply impacted, or a financial thing that hits you that you really, you know, start to fear, like Red, you said, you know, the brokers that are like, I know it's coming, but I don't know when it's coming. I got bills to pay right now. I think the key with mindset is recognizing that when you do get that mindset, that you're in that mindset, and being careful about it. Like for me, like I think I said before we started recording, 99% of the time I'm staying very positive, but there is that 1% where I'm like, you know, I don't even notice it. And I start to kind of go down, you know, spiraling downwards. And suddenly I'll kind of realize it. And it's in realizing it, okay, at least I'm aware of it. And now I can take action and I can't always fix it immediately. You know, just I'm human, and I do have things like the gratitude and the YouTube videos and things I do, but I think, you know, we have to recognize that people are which state are they in, you know, like, and we have to respect the state they're in. You know, I talked earlier about the couch versus the growth. And if they're too fearful, and couch might be because out of fear, just, I don't know what to do here. Okay. Like, you know, how can I support you there? And I've also noticed a third mindset, like there's this growth sort of couch stop mindset. And I discovered another one the other day, which was kind of like a head in the sand mindset. Not like there's growth, optimistic, whatever, but I still realize, like you said, Nick, I'm still a realist. But there's this one mindset. It was like, this is kind of like a vacation, and we don't have to worry about paying our rent right now because the world's got our back. And it was almost like, I thought, yeah, that's a little bit like scary. Like, I think we need to be on offense now, not defense, and not on the couch, and not just letting this all happen. There's things we can do, even if you are, you know, a hair salon and you can't have clients right now. There's things you can do. And anyway, I just ranted, didn't I, about 4 different topics.
I think you just explained franchisees. I mean, this is where, you know, if you inject someone with truth serum and say, a franchisor, and say, do you love all your franchisees? They're gonna say, some. And that's the thing that happens with franchisees, because the majority of them are Netflix and Doritos. That's unfortunately and fortunately why they don't go create their franchise. I think everybody on this call is very entrepreneurial. That's the set. And then the second one of, hey, I need to follow something. And then you get the head in the sand. And those are the ones that said, I bought your franchise, I should be making money. So it's interesting. Like, I think you just described every type of franchisee that exists. That if you can identify those in some sort of personality or question or gut, then you're going to know on the other side of this which mindset you want to associate with. Because unfortunately, say over the last 5 years, we swung in a great economy to us as franchisors. We just want anybody that's qualified and ready to buy. And it wasn't as important about culture fit, because at the end of the day, you have CEOs pounding on sales teams saying more deals, more leads, more deals, more leads. And you got a sales team that ultimately has to feed their family. So they're like, I got all this pressure at work. I'm going to go sell to some folks that I'm not 100% sure on. And that's the truth serum coming. Now, people might argue and say, that's not true. It is. But what you just said, that's the mindset. of every franchisee, and the bulk of them should not be entrepreneurial, which then opens up the opportunity. Find the ones that are like, coach, give me the system, let me follow it.
Mm-hmm. And work with the different mindsets. Like, I think that's something that when I discovered that third mindset the other day, I was like, oh, if I, now that I know that, because I went in ready to talk to this person about like, how can we find opportunity in this? And then I realized she wasn't in the one or the other. So it wasn't going to work no matter what I said. I had to kind of learn that new mindset. So it's very interesting to kind of figure it. And you're right, different franchisees. And this is a time to, a lot of people have said it, franchisors have said it, it's almost like it's a time to clean house. Like the ones that want to be the Doritos and Netflix couch people, yeah. Maybe they are going to end up closing and clean out, or the staff within each of those franchises that, there's staff that are stepping up, and even in these businesses that can't physically operate right now, but can stay connected to their clients. I've been really encouraging anybody, whether it's a small business, a franchisee, or a franchisor, stay connected right now to your clients, even if you can't service them. Like, give free stuff, do whatever you have to do, like free time, bring people together, whatever you can do.
What you just said, though, is also survival of the fittest, and this is what's going to happen in franchise brands. The truth is, and a third might be even too conservative of a guess, but a third of franchisees are not going to survive this. The units are going to be closed. For the mindset at the top, though, that's survival of the fittest, and they're going to come in and they're going to purchase those units at a discounted rate, and they're going to be productive because they weren't productive because of the operator, not because of the business. So we're going to see survival of the fittest happen naturally in this situation, where the resale market is going to skyrocket, and the buyers at the top are going to say, I will swallow that up because it's cheaper for me to pay for this unit that I'm going to assume corporate approved the real estate on. I'm going to pick it up at a fraction of a dollar, and then I'm going to make it go to work. So this could turn out really, really well. We just don't know the timeline of it. And with that, the survival of the fittest mindset, the franchisees in the top third, the ones that are truly positive mindset, the entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial, they're going to come and swallow up that bottom third, and they're going to make a lot of money on the other side of whatever we're going through.
Yeah, I think, Nick, I think this is going to be the case too for the emerging brands, right? I mean, some are going to get wiped out, or some should have never been in the market, but right now is a strategic time. As an emerging brand, you had a stable industry with stable safeguards, value propositions that brokers looked for. And now you have this seismic shift where now those emerging brands are going to have an opportunity to have a place at the table, to engage in a different conversation and focus on different unit metrics and whatnot. I was joking with Lisa Welko. I keep claiming she says throughout item 19s, but she really didn't say that. But it does become a different conversation in terms of investment, retail space, value proposition of franchisor. So I think there's a unique opportunity for those emerging brands right now.
Very true. As you reminded me of back in again, that global economic crisis some of us went through as Zors back a decade plus ago. I had Zs that were watching media like crazy, and of course the whole sky was falling, much like today. The world was, half the population was going to pass away, it seemed like, and so they followed what they fed themselves and did close. I had others who said, guys, let's rally, let's pivot. Where is the opportunity? And we saw people getting laid off, and we saw that only 5% of our business was commercial. And we said, there's folks that will get laid off and they'll replace them with us. And so we quadrupled, in many cases, our commercial business during that time. We saw other people having to get a second job and the spouse go back to work. In that case, we got new clients. So we focused on areas where there was opportunities, because the Zor and the Z's came together. They really, we powwowed, if you will. We talked about daily what's working and what's not, and everybody focused on what is and shared what isn't. And it was a real blessing to the whole organization. Again, franchising stronger together #. So something else that we've been using before this and now during this is the word perspective. put it in perspective. I'll give you an example. As a franchise development individual, I represented a brand that had over 1,000 units. I was global chief development officer. And I would have candidates, whether they were master, prospect, an area developer, or an individual unit, say, oh my goodness, they had lost 30 franchisees last year, run for the hills. And I said, well, let's put this in perspective. There's the average, what's the average in franchising? And I may be making this number up, but I think it was something like a 10% average annual attrition. These guys have a 3% average. If you go to the lower investment home-based services sector, the average is higher than 10%. It may be 17%, and yet these guys have a 3%. So using that term, let's put this in perspective in a humble way, in a consulting way has helped. And now as we enter this crazy world we're in today, putting things in perspective in the world of, well, it's not a perfect analogy, but the swine flu, 11 years ago, the H1N1 hit us pretty hard. There were over 12,000 deaths in the US alone. Globally, there was somewhere close to 500,000. We are at a minute fraction of that today, and things could change. But fortunately, we attacked it a lot faster than we did that. So helping to comfort them, put them in perspective, and have some confidence to be able to take baby steps forward when maybe they had frozen before can make a big difference for a lot of franchisors who do need, especially those emerging brands you mentioned, Charles, who do need new blood in their system just to stay alive. So, one other thought, I don't mean to dominate this point, but consultants, I interviewed 7 of our top consultants on a little roundtable discussion a couple days ago. And they were pointing out, because part of this call today is to discuss what are brokers doing? What are the franchise consultants in the world? How are they handling this? They're pivoting by showing the hot sector. Nick mentioned earlier, a third of the franchisors, give or take, aren't really struggling. They are, in some cases, even thriving. And so it's the consultant's role to guide their candidates towards the best opportunities for them. And during this crisis, there are a bunch that are not struggling and maybe thriving. And so the consultants are pivoting and are showing those brands, those sectors we talked about earlier, that are much less impacted and certainly not negatively impacted by this crazy world we're in today.
Those are, getting back to, and I love the term, well, I don't love it. I hope it doesn't happen, but mindset punch. Dawn from SNB Advisors, like Dawn's comment, it's a good one too, which is she's agreeing and adding to what Angela said, those of us in franchising, and so very close to so many small businesses and the impact this is having, may want to be careful in general public posts, Facebook, and many people are not in this mindset. And so Dawn says, and what we may think is obvious hasn't even crossed their minds yet, which that Nick's been saying this. I know Angela and Rhett, there are many people, or Nick would say a third, or Angela, or whatever percentage, but that are just not recognizing what's ahead. And I do hope it's limited.
Well, I think that's our opportunity here too, though, as leaders that have this mindset, to try to help people go from, like what Dawn was saying, like if they don't have that mindset, I don't think we need to and I don't think this is what she's saying, but it's not that we can't put it out there that we're positive, but it's helping people go from the mindset of the bottom third or the couch people to helping them see that there's opportunity here. Like I've been finding in any of the collaborative video calls like this that I've been involved in, that at the end, everybody is always getting off happy and empowered and feeling empowered to go do something, go try a new action step that they hadn't thought of. And they may have gotten on that call with more of a sort of doom and gloom and hadn't thought about the possible, the opportunity. So thanks, Dawn. You're saying that I got it right. That's what I'm just trying to say, that this is our opportunity to lead and be, I believe a leader is a person that role models and walks the talk and influences people naturally by doing what they're doing. And so this is our opportunity to be positive and respect that not everybody is in that mindset. So speak to that, when we can.
I think that's
bring
awesome.
People up.
Angela, I think that's awesome advice. you know, as we're approaching, like we're getting close to an hour, and if we ended on that, Angela, that would have been no. Right? No, because that really, it is true, right? It is a time for leadership. I'm still stuck on be balanced in the conversation earlier, because I'm thinking you have now a whole new digital space. You're going to have, I mean,
Exciting.
I'm like fascinated with the change in retail. I mean, a seismic shift in retail and labor after this, digital. I'm also obsessed with the thoughts of how digital marketing, lead generation, honest like it's all going to change. It was all, not only, I think, I'd say it was too easy before this, but also inefficient. It was all too much of me too. Let's just pay for our pay-per-click ads. Let's have the same redundant message no matter what industry we're in. Let's just take this third and push him through a funnel that doesn't matter. And now if you don't have that honest conversation, aren't nimble enough to master digital, not in a wasteful way, but in an honest way, you're not going to exist. And if you do, the ones that can do it, they're going to get the opportunity they deserved, whether it's Be Balanced or others. Now's the opportunity for those brands right now. You know, so that's the part that intrigues me. And I know that's, I think for me, a positive note in terms of the landscape has changed and there's so much opportunity from that perspective.
Yeah, Charles, and to this point of mindset and strategy for recovery and growth, we're seeing brands do some incredible things with technology. For instance, My iLab, they're brick and mortar all the way, but they had already set up a system, a telemedicine system that they are massively utilizing like crazy and actually thriving through this crisis. We've seen folks like a Cycle Bar, they just rallied and they didn't know what, they lost everything. You know, everybody's closing, nobody's going to fitness centers. They actually took all their bikes and leased them or rented them to folks that they could take it home and work out from home and then still do, you know, what we talked about earlier with the live video streams. We've seen Network Lead Exchange is one that came to mind. They're doing work online from a virtual networking perspective and seeing some significant growth there. So there are some blips and in there and things we can learn as Zors and as franchise professionals, learning from our peers. And that's why you're doing this today. And that's why each of us are interviewing folks and getting the word out there. What is working? What can we do together? Because this is our time. This is franchising's bright light. We are to be respectful, but also a bright light to this dark world. And I just love what you guys are doing, Nick and Charles and Angela, so many of us sharing what's working and rallying together like never before. And we are going to be stronger than ever together through this.
Yeah, I'm excited. I just got excited. I wish I had like a digital playbook to throw it out. And I'm like, 'cause it's all going to open up, you know, Nick, as we wrap it up, let's positive mindset, where we go from here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the content that's being created should turn into content that lasts forever, and that's the reality. No matter what storm hits people in the future, they land on things that are being created by the industry, and as long as it's placed in the right place, the next time some crisis hits, we're building the educational foundation of people living this in real time without knowing the answers. And it'll be very interesting to look back on some of these things, say in 12 months from now, and say how far off were we on this, and what was the truth of what's going on? Because in real time, we don't know. Things are happening absolutely in real time without us being able to grip our brains around it. But I think what Angela said is so critical, that if somehow through all the pains, because everybody has pains in this. So, some will not admit it, but everybody has pains. And through that, if you can just say, your number one job is to get to the end of this and have the landing pad that Charles has talked about. And I think that's the right mindset to have for anybody in business right now. Focus on that landing pad and do your best to get to it, because if you can, there's going to be opportunity. We hope, but we don't know. I mean, all these cases could skyrocket, and worse can happen. But right now, have that mindset and focus on that, and step away from the chaos of the day, and try to put pen to paper on what you want to do on the other side of this. So at least while your mind is fresh, you have some sort of blueprint that you may possibly be able to follow when we get through this chaos.
And tap into your gifts and talents right now in this time too. I think for everybody to think about what you are good at and what what you bring to the world that's unique about you, and try to figure out how to leverage that. That's another thing I think, just piggybacking off what you said there, Nick, like everybody's got different skills, and how can you apply those skills right now in a different way to help others? And I really believe in right now being a time, if if your business does have to stop because you can't, physically cut hair through Zoom, how can you give back right now? Give back, build trusting relationships. This is how you're going to recover, is by building the trust and relationships with your clients, your prospects, your franchise candidates, everything right now. Use the time for that, so that when we come out on the other end, who are they going to think about? You, right? Because you put in the time now. Like, I think, don't think about the money, getting money from people right now. Like, I think that's irresponsible. Just right now, think about, who do I want to build relationships with and build trust with, so that when we, it's definitely not going to be the new normal, but when we come out of this and there is this new normal, we'll be ready to go, and continue on.
Amen. I'll wrap up with, we're in this together, and we will all get through this together. And there is a pent-up demand coming, and I'm honored to be with you guys and in franchising. If anybody needs to talk, needs to vent, needs an ear to just listen and support and non-judgmental, you can contact me anytime. And I know everyone on this call would love to help you get through this and be a friend. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Nick, and Angela, for being my friend.
Hey guys,
yes, thank you all too.
And everyone on the calls and all the comments and the Franchise Growth Mastermind. I appreciate everything, and getting to points you guys have made I know as we look back, some of the dots that are going to be connected are coming from part of this conversation and all the goodwill you guys shared and everyone on these calls. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys very soon at whatever conference.
In person,
right,
standing live?
Yes, in person. I can't wait.
With pants on. How many people here actually have pants on?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Guys, have a great day.
Too.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Stay safe.